Hi there, I'm Carmen with Life Discovery Ministries. I have been a teacher and facilitator since 2017. I was changed in 2016 when I went through healing from loss, and it had such a profound impact on my life. From then on, it was on my heart to help others to get healing too. Before healing from loss, I was numb, just going through the motions. I struggled with perfectionism, people-pleasing, and overall working hard to control others' perceptions of me. Have any of you struggled with these types of things? Today, we're going to be talking about the drama triangle. You may ask, why are we covering this? I'm here to heal. What we have found is that if we want to minimize the amount of grief we have going forward, we need to reevaluate how we are in relationships. The drama triangle is a system designed by Carmen. It's a system in which we are in constant cycle of victimhood. When I talk about this, I want to preface that this is not a victim of an actual crime. What I mean is that we are stuck in a system where we hand over our responsibility for our life, and we live in a constant state of reacting to others. It's much like driving down the freeway, and instead of yourself being behind the wheel, you are in the driver's seat, but someone else has control of that wheel. We call this the victim. The victim doesn't take responsibility for their life. They blame others for their problems, situations, and overall unhappiness. They feel powerless and unable to handle life. They're hopeless. Instead of being proactive, they're stuck in the victim role and will react in situations, allowing their anger to hurt and control others. I used to have a boss that was very aggressive. She would constantly question me and put me down. And essentially, I was the victim. I was in this mentality where I would constantly vent about her and the situation. I would make excuses for things at work. I didn't want help. Instead, I wanted others to validate my oh, poor me mentality. I was in search of a rescuer, our second role on the drama triangle. The rescuer has an overwhelming need to save others or for others to depend on them as a way of validating their self-worth. The rescuer considers themselves a martyr because they sacrifice their happiness to take care of others. They're wanting to take the victim's pain away by saving the victim from their own consequences. They know all the right ways to fix the victim. They fear abandonment and loss of usefulness or sense of purpose. This is like a codependent spouse to an alcoholic that calls in to work for them or contacts family and makes excuses for them. The rescuer also tends to overextend themselves with too many time commitments, leaving no time for themselves. The rescuer will also fight the next person for control of the victim, the persecutor or the bad guy. The persecutor or bad guy works to manipulate others. The bad guy is authoritative, using shame, blame. The persecutor is an emotional abuser. They intimidate the victim by using fear and anger to control others for their desired behavior to keep them in their place. The intention is to look perfect. They need to have all the right answers. They need to be right all the time. They tend to one-up others. The bad guy has an overwhelming sense of justice, but uses it in an unhealthy way to make the victim conform to their ideas of perfection. I had a client once whose father was a persecutor. At the age of 5, this father made his son get out of the car when he was being too loud and unruly. He wanted to teach his son a lesson, and he left him in the field by the side of the road for what felt like hours to this 5-year-old boy. He wanted to teach him this lesson to not act up, not be out of place, but this 5-year-old only learned that his father didn't value him and learned instead not to be seen or heard by others. So let's talk about living on the triangle. Where we focus our attention influences our feelings, and our feelings drive our behavior. So in the victim mind frame, we focus on problems. This creates feelings of shame and anxiety. The anxiety causes us to react. In this situation, we react to danger with fight, flight, or freeze. This fight, flight, or freeze response was designed to help us out of a truly dangerous situation. But now we've become accustomed to it, and it has become our default setting. It was never meant to function that way. Instead of being aware of what we are feeling and choosing how to respond, we get stuck on this triangle. If one role goes away, it ceases to exist. These roles spread blame all around. The victim blames the persecutor for their situation and the rescuer for trying to change them. The rescuer blames the victim for not changing or following their advice and blames the persecutor for being too hard on the victim. The persecutor blames the victim for their situation and the rescuer for bailing them out all the time. The roles shift throughout as well. When the persecutor is nagging and shaming, the rescuer steps in to protect the victim and attacks the persecutor, which then turns him into the victim. This causes hurt feelings for everyone involved and keeps them stuck in the vicious cycle. Getting off the triangle. How do we take back control? How do we get out of this? The first step is to recognize yourself on the triangle. Are you a rescuer, a victim, a persecutor? Where do you fall in your different relationships? I know for me, at work, I can be a victim. With my family, I can be a rescuer. And with my husband, a persecutor. I tend, however, to sit most comfortably in the role of a rescuer. Where do you tend to see yourself? Tell yourself the truth. Why am I acting the way I am? If you deny your feelings, it's impossible to be honest about the situation. Recognize how you feel. This will help determine your behavior. I realized with my boss that her criticism was just reinforcing the way I was already feeling about myself. After going through healing from loss, I realized my worth wasn't dependent on my works, and her comments no longer held any power over me. Victims need to be honest with themselves and take responsibility for their happiness, their feelings, and their treatment of others. Rescuers need to be honest about their true motives and let others face the natural consequences of their actions. We need to remember we can't fix it for others. If victims are allowed to face the natural consequences of making bad decisions, they will learn to make better decisions. My son played the trumpet in grade school. He was supposed to bring it every Monday and Wednesday, and he would constantly forget, and I would just go run it up to the school for him. There were no consequences for his forgetting. Then one day he forgot, and I didn't take it to the school. He was forced to pretend play on a piece of paper. He did not forget his trumpet after that. Persecutors need to be honest with themselves about having unreasonable expectations and let go of trying to control others. So what's next? Please turn your page to the empowerment dynamic. The triangle changes. It becomes the empowerment dynamic. David Emerald discusses this in his book, The Power of TED. In the empowerment dynamic, the victim becomes the creator. The persecutor becomes the challenger. The rescuer becomes the coach. Let's look at these roles a little closer. The creator. When you become a creator, you focus on outcomes instead of problems. You take responsibility for your life. You tap into your passion and take steps towards your desired purpose or vision. You become proactive, choosing how you will respond or react in situations. You learn to empower and encourage others' self-reliance. You ask for permission to do things and honor others' response. Jesus did this in John 5 when he asked the sick man near the pool of Bethesda, "Would you like to get well?" The man responded he couldn't, as he had no one to help him. Jesus told him to stand up, pick up your mat, and walk. As a creator, you act without expectations of others or the need for them to reciprocate. As a creator, you will see challengers instead of persecutors. Some questions to ask yourself: what gives me passion? What drives me? What are my feelings in this situation? And what do I desire in this relationship? What steps can I take towards that goal? If you were a persecutor before, now on the empowerment dynamic, you will become a challenger. As a challenger, you focus on teaching through constructive ways. Instead of criticizing, judging, and controlling others, you work to build others up. You have a take it or leave it mentality when it comes to the decisions that others make. You also believe in letting others experience the natural consequences of their actions. A challenger can also be an unconscious experience, such as a condition or a disease, or a situation that happened. Some questions former persecutors need to ask themselves are: what is my intention? To look good, be in control, have others fear me? Do I have a need to be right? If you were the rescuer before on the drama triangle, you are now a coach on the empowerment dynamic. As the coach, you are compassionate. You provide support and encouragement. You empower others to make their own decisions instead of bossing them around. Instead of telling others what you should do about that, they ask, what do you want to do about that? As a coach, you need to pay attention to what drains you. One of the biggest differences between a coach and a rescuer is, as a coach, you set and maintain healthy boundaries. Some questions to ask yourself are, what is my intention? Do I need to feel needed? Am I scared of being alone or unneeded? It is a challenge to get off the drama triangle. Many times, those who try end up in a different role. The first step is being here, doing the work in healing from loss. The key is to focus on telling yourself the truth, figuring out who you really are through God's eyes. You work on identifying those hurt feelings that can put you back on the triangle again. You process those feelings in a healthy way and work to choose how you will show up in relationship. Jesus never waited for an apology. He didn't wait for others to change. He is free with forgiveness. With practice, you can keep drama at bay. I commend you for taking this journey on healing from loss. I hope that we can be helpful, and I wish you all the best. Keep working at it. It's hard, but it's worth it.